Hey there, fellow Texans. We're now starting the final game in Dallas for the World Cup, and I've got the best guy in town to give you the rundown. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM. Is there anybody better than Bob Stern on our sister station, The Ticket? So I recorded a interview with him just about an hour ago, right before the game started. And now say hello to a Dallas radio legend from our sister station, The Ticket, Bob Sturm. Now, Sturm, you are, I guess, the one of the big soccer fans over on that format. How have you liked the World Cup thus far? What grade would you give it?
Oh, I don't know. I how about an A? Maybe an A plus. I've loved the World Cup. I think we should be very proud of the job we did as a host country, and I think the games themselves have been wonderful. Certainly would have loved the home nation to make a run for it, but what are you going to do? And but no, overall it's been a tremendous summer, and I'm very, very pleased with how far we've made it. And with a few days to go, it seems like it's been a huge success.
Well, a lot of opinionated people online have pointed out that the game happening today here in Dallas may truly be the World Cup finals, because a lot of people see these as the top two teams, France and Spain. Is this the real World Cup finals, Bob?
Well, you can definitely make the case. I mean, when one plays two, I get where they're coming from, but 3 and 4 are playing in the other semi. And when, these aren't, the thing is, over here in the States, we're used to best of 7 series or things like that to really rule out anomalies or a weird bounce or things of that nature. And in a semifinal today and tomorrow, I think you could make the case that there are 4 teams left. They are all capable of winning the World Cup. The weakest is our defending champion, to give you an example, in Argentina. And I think any combination on Sunday should not surprise anybody. So I agree with the general premise that this is probably the final because France looks very, very difficult to beat. But I also would say there are no lightweights at all still in the tournament.
Bob Stern, we expanded the tournament this year and doubled it up. Was that too much? Did we play too many games?
I thought so, but now in retrospect, I guess I got used to it, and I enjoyed group play, and the knockout round has been tremendous. They did add a round to the knockout round, of course, to perhaps make knockout wins easier. But I mean, I think I could get used to this, but then we also know how the suits will do this, is that they'll expand it again to a point where we do dilute the product. So I think it was fine, but I also fear that we'll do 64 here before long. Maybe as soon as 2030 if I know how FIFA works.
Yeah, I bet you they expand it again. So one thing I love, I'm a soccer fan. I always watch the World Cup. I really like the instant replay usage. I don't watch a whole lot of soccer between the World Cups, but I think they're really making some progress with, not doing it too much, not interrupting the flow of the game, but getting it right.
Okay, so like the VAR reviews and so forth, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who embraces technology in our sports, whether it's the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, I do think we have enough human errors over the years to know that sometimes we crown the wrong champion. So the ability to get it right is obviously the end goal. Where we open Pandora's box, of course, is when we expand that to reviewing things sometimes and not reviewing them other times, and feeling like there are some unjust outcomes that are a complete result of maybe too much technology. So as I would with my politics, I'm a moderate, and I would like to say I'm a technological moderate as well. Let's not get crazy, but let's also not throw it completely out with the bathwater.
Well, I thought it was fantastic to see some cards were reversed, like sort of Uno reversed on people because of the replay. So that happened in the U.S. when we were, I think, was that Paraguay? And then when the Swiss guy took that nasty dive. Americans hate it. Any culture, like these honor cultures. I bet Japanese people hate seeing that. I don't think soccer will ever flourish until that flop problem gets solved, because a lot of us see it as disgusting and sort of cheating.
There's no sort of about it. It's absolutely cheating. It's a act to attempt to mislead the officials, and that's a great part about replay. And I assume you're talking about the Switzerland player on Saturday night against Argentina.
Yep.
And he was given a red card, and the guys on TV, a second yellow, which equaled a red card, I should say. The guys on TV were very sympathetic to him, but I did not share their view. My thought was, if you're carrying a yellow card and then you enact one of the goofiest dives we've ever seen and get basically ejected for it, I'm sorry. That feels like a proper use of the system to me. And my advice is don't attempt to cheat the game next time. So I had very little sympathy. I was kind of shocked at the way the broadcasters handled that, to be honest.
Yeah, he deserved to take a walk. We're talking with Bob Sturm from the Ticket down the hall about the World Cup. So let's talk about the lessons we've learned from this World Cup. I really like how some of these players have embraced social media, and I think that's just going to be part of all World Cups here. I felt like a lot of people, if you wanted to follow Erling Haaland through the World Cup, he left enough breadcrumbs that you kind of made your own storyline.
He's an incredibly likable player, and Norway going on the run they did helped his recognition in the States go up even higher. I feel like he might be like a great figure in terms of measuring someone and their ball knowing, because I do think a lot of people in the States discovered him for the first time. And I think a lot of people in Europe would say, wow, that's crazy because he's like one of the most famous soccer players in the world. But in a country that doesn't totally follow the sport, I get it. And really that's probably the point of hosting this event is to grow that sport. And it's an unbelievably great sport. I love it tremendously. Although, of course, I could be accused of loving tons of sports because I do. But I think world soccer is magnificent. And I think Erling Haaland is a tremendous personality who is both likable and he has a look that I could never pull off. So he is easy to recognize for any casual or anybody who is just entering the game. So he's great, and I don't disagree with you at all.
Well, he almost looks like you asked AI. It's like, make me an archetypical Viking that plays soccer for the Norway national team. I think that's what AI would spit out, Bob.
I think you're right, and I would say that he's a ton of fun until you have to play against him, and he plays for Manchester City over there in England, and trust me, nobody likes to play Manchester City because Erling Haaland is inevitable. He's going to score some goals and probably make you sad by the end of the afternoon.
Well, I remember him the first time I saw him. He was on the cover of FIFA. I play the video game version of soccer, FIFA. And it was like 6 years ago, and he was maybe 18, and he had on his German league jersey. He had short hair. He looked like a child. Yeah.
He was for Dortmund in Germany. In fact, he was teammates with Jude Bellingham, who is the star for England, and they were young teenage teammates, and now they shared a hug after their great battle on Miami. So it's cool to see these guys discovered over here. And when I saw Lionel Messi in our fine city, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and when they were playing here, it occurs to you this is probably the most recognizable human alive right now, and that kind of blows your mind a little bit because there's a lot of humans, of course, on this planet, and if you lined them all up in popularity and recognition across the globe, I think Messi is probably the most recognizable human that's living right now. So,
right, and then conversely, you could go to Buenos Aires or Barcelona or wherever he's playing now, and they probably don't know Dak Prescott that well.
I agree. So he could probably go to dinner with no disturbances.
So, Bob, I'm a slobbering fan of the hardline and the Ticket in general. I thought the kick around was excellent. Is there some way we can keep Lars?
Well, I don't know. I think he wants to go home eventually, but I think he's enjoyed his Texas tremendously, and he and I have shared two matches of golf, and we'll have a third one on Thursday. So, check your ESPN ticker to see who wins the third and final match.
Well, I appreciate your time here. Go enjoy some soccer, and I'll see you in the hallway pretty soon. This is Bob Sturm from our sister station, The Ticket. All right, coming up next, we're going to look at the big headlines of the day. I'll get you all caught up on Iran, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, and the ICE shootings on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, let's talk about the big national headlines of the day. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for the WBAP Morning Show. Also, remember, we're less than 2 months away from President Trump coming to Dallas. He'll be where I'm at right now, the American Airlines Center for the Republican Midterm Convention. We're going to be all over that September 9th and 10th. So remember when that's going on, tune in to WBAP for that. All right, smattering of important headlines. Now, the blockade of the Straits of Hormuz is set to start at 3 Texas time. So they were saying like 4 p.m. Eastern time. What is Eastern time? You mean real time, 3 o'clock? So that's going to start here in about a half hour. I don't know why they even set a time on it. Hey, we're going to block the Straits of Hormuz. When? Tuesday at 3? Why wouldn't you say immediately? So that's going on. I don't know how to run a country. I don't know how to manage a war, but some of this stuff just doesn't sound like it makes sense to me. I think the bigger story here, as far as the media goes, and which means by proxy your lemming neighbors, is what's going on with these ICE shootings. Now, before I even play you the update, just remember, do you get updates on any other shootings like this? For all the shootings that happened, like when we had the mass shooting at the Airbnb where a few people got killed, when we had the mass shooting at the lake where a few people got killed, mass shooting at the after hours party at Stop 6 in Fort Worth, another after hours mass shooting in Fort Worth that happened like 2 weeks before that. Do you get regular updates on that? You get regular, because you didn't even get updates on the hate crime that happened in Longview 3 weeks ago with Sammy Lee. No updates there. No journalistic integrity there. But if it fits the narrative, oh yeah, you'll hear about that over and over and over. Also, when the ICE agents get shot themselves, do you get updates from them? And when they report on these stories, do you get the point of view from the ICE officers, from the government, or from the half of America that wants our immigration laws enforced? No, you don't. That was the amazing thing I was playing you yesterday is the guy in Houston that got shot. They went and talked to his sons, and they're like, what's it like to lose your dad? What a nightmare. How good of a person was he? All right, now just emotionally blackmail our listeners into agreeing with us. Did they go to anybody in the officer's family? The officers who almost got killed, the officer who had to pull the trigger and end a man's life and is probably going to have, severe trauma because of that. He's not a sociopath. He's probably going to lose sleep. He's probably going to have nightmares because of that. No one's concerned about the negative effect on him, only on the children of the guy who has broken laws in this country for every second of the last 35 years. It's a real piece of garbage media we have out there. This is from our news partner WFAA. They're combining the two stories of the ICE shootings in Houston and Maine.
There are growing questions after a second deadly ICE shooting in less than a week. The latest one happened yesterday in Maine, where ICE agents killed a Colombian national. Officials say he was not the person they were after. Just last week, ICE agents in Houston shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado Orojo. ICE admits the Mexican national was also not their target that day.
The federal government has not invited us in. The federal government is not collaborating to this point with us in this investigation.
Meanwhile, in Minnesota, prosecutors say they're now getting federal cooperation 6 months after the shooting deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, including officer testimony, body camera footage, and Renee Good's car.
What does that have to do with anything? We just want to remind you that ICE had these other two shootings that may stain your perception of them. There's no proof that they did anything wrong. It hasn't been adjudicated in court. We're just going to go ahead and presume guilt and present it to you in a guilty fashion. Did you notice how they didn't answer the one most important question in both of those stories? Was the guy here illegally? And you know why? Because if the guy is here illegally, that changes the sympathy of the story. If they admit the truth, that the guy was shot by ICE while he was trying to escape ICE, it doesn't sound like a huge injustice has been done here. He shouldn't have been here anyway. And we'll just, we would instead walk away not hating ICE. We would say, boy, you should really cooperate with ICE. If you've gotten away with it for 35 years, just turn around and put your hands behind your back, bro. You had a good run. There's no great injustice if you finally have the law enforced on you after 3.5 decades. But nope, they just can't help themselves. All right, coming up next to help us digest the big headlines of the day, James Varney from Real Clear Politics will be on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, let's see what's going on in national headlines. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. To give me an assist, it's the great James Varney from Real Clear Politics. And I want to start with the Iran war. We're starting a blockade in 24 minutes. I don't get this, Varnes. If we want to do a blockade, why do we schedule it for Tuesday at 3? Right. And I also don't understand, if you want to shut off all of Iran's coastline to outside shipping traffic, you really just have to close the opening of that strait. So it's not like you even have to blockade the entirety of the coastline. All right, James Varney, let's move on to the next big stories of the day. The situation with Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are sort of mirror images of each other, because the real story isn't their health problems. The real story is the entire Senate hangs in the balance. Yeah, his sister. You mean Kentucky? You said the right governor. You just said the wrong state. They were the worst. Yeah. All right. I was gonna say the last storyline I wanted to run by you, James Varney, is they're really pushing these ICE shootings in Maine, in Houston. I don't know if they're trying to get Bruce Springsteen to write another song like he did for the Minneapolis people who got themselves killed by ICE. But I get the feeling that they're searching for their next George Floyd riot incitement, because it's either this or maybe the Nolan Wells case out of Mississippi, but they're trying to get something to stick. Right. Well, we see the same sort of pushback going on against data centers when they say, "Well, we're not going to have enough electricity for the data center." Well, then we better expand our electricity capacity. Not they just want to stop data centers. No, they want the government to control who can build what, when, where, how big it can be, how much water it can use, and all that. It's just that. Oh, really? You want government to control major industry? Okay, said the socialist. I see what you're really getting at. Getting at. That's the most anyone's ever invested in Louisiana's history for all time, probably. No, nobody does. Even the people from Monroe are like, "How do I get the hell out of here?" But well, it's I try. Right. I try and get people to think of data centers as oil. Like, if you don't do it here, it's going to have to come from somewhere. So, would you rather get the oil here and the productive capacity and the economic productivity? Would you rather that be here in Texas in America? Or would you rather these data centers be built in China or India or Mexico or somewhere else? So, it's not it's very fungible, and stopping this data center is not going to stop the data usage. It's just going to change who controls it. All right, Varney, thank you very much for it's a good chat. You can find more of his great work, realclearpolitics.com, realclearinvestigations.com has his long form work. So thank you very much. What? Dude, your articles are long. Like those big investigations you do, that's novella level stuff. Oh, no. I like the long version. For people who don't have that much room, there's only so much depth you can get into on the story, and you get to go a little deeper than most people. So that was a compliment, sir. All right, here's some tepid applause. That's James Varney. Coming up next, updates on the ICE shootings in Maine and Houston. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. Now, if you've had any of this bad weather, and we've gotten a lot of it, we're not even done this week with bad weather. Check out your roof. If there's any dents, if anything looks different, if you're missing one shingle, you want to go to blueribbondfw.com and get the free roof inspection. But don't forget Blue Ribbon Roofing when it comes to other aspects of what they do. They can help you with commercial roofings. They can help you customize your patio or deck or your covers. They also can help you. The big one, I think, is with the insurance claim. I've only had to replace a roof once. And the concern is, are they going to short me? How do I get them to cover it? If I think they're wrong, is there a way I can refile this paperwork and get them to pay for the whole thing or get them to change their decision? Look, that's what Blue Ribbon Roofing has done thousands of times, and they already know who to call. You're probably calling the wrong number. They call a different number than you do. They talk to different people than you do, and they know how to get the most. They know how to make your insurance company pony up every penny they owe you. So when it's time to get a new roof or even just get a free inspection, go to blueribbondfw.com. Boy, the media is really hyping up these ICE shootings, aren't they? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for the WBAP morning show. Be sure to check them out whenever you're waking up. But we have an ICE shooting that happened in Houston, and then there was another one in Maine that happened, was that yesterday or day before yesterday? For those of you who missed the last segment, I can go ahead and get you all caught up on both of them because they're being reported together now. And when they're reported together like this, that's not an accident. This is how narratives are constructed. They don't string together all the shootings that happen in DFW over the weekend and be like, wow, there's one factor that connects all these people. Why? Well, because that doesn't fit their narrative. In fact, that would blow their narrative out of the water. How could they scare half of America from white rural rage if you were constantly being reminded that all the rage is not white nor rural, or most of it? Anyway, WFAA.
There are growing questions after a second deadly ICE shooting in less than
by the way, see if they use the term illegal immigrant or even admit that they're here illegally. See if they even use the term undocumented migrant.
There are growing questions after a second deadly ICE shooting in less than a week. The latest one happened yesterday in Maine, where ICE agents killed a Colombian national. Officials say he was not the person they were after. Just last week, ICE agents in Houston shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado Orojo. ICE admits the Mexican national was also not their target that day.
The federal government has not invited us in. The federal government is not collaborating to this point with us in this investigation.
Meanwhile, in Minnesota, prosecutors say they're now getting federal cooperation 6 months after the shooting deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, including officer testimony, body camera footage, and Renee Good's car.
Dang, they made sure that you knew both of the people that shot were not the intended targets of ICE officers. They made sure to tell you that, but they didn't tell you the status of them. They said that one was a Colombian national, one was a Mexican national. Well, are they here legally or are they here illegally? All you told me is they're not citizens. So what kind of garbage is this? Oh, I mean, you know what's going on. I know what's going on. They don't want to say anything that would make you sympathetic to ICE. Oh, so ICE was doing their job and someone tried to kill them and they defended themselves. That's the real story, but they can't quite put it like that. Now, can they? So this reporting is not an accident. They use the language. They include some details that help. They exclude other details that hurt the narrative. And so what you have here is pure propaganda. That's what it is. When you include details that help your case, but exclude the ones that hurt your case, then you're not reporting, you're propagandizing. And here's what I like about Stephen Miller here. He's on CNN. And the lady that's interviewing him says undocumented migrant. And he makes a good point about how, we just take these terms and you don't fight it every time. You usually just kind of have the conversation with whoever says that. But he's making a good point here. And they're neither undocumented nor migrants. If you've been here for 35 years, you're not a person on the move. That's what a migrant is. And it's not that they're undocumented. It's not that they don't have a social security card. It's not that they don't have an identification ID. It's not that they don't have, they might not have car insurance. It's just that it's probably fake documents. So they are illegal aliens. You're using the term undocumented migrants because it's a much softer term. It doesn't admit illegality. It doesn't admit injustice that they're here. And when you're using language, I love how he says, when you're using language to obscure the truth, then you're not acting in good faith.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted a stunning allegation saying that an undocumented migrant sent a letter threatening to kill the president, promising to self-deport after the assassination. CNN reporting shows that investigators believe the migrant was set up. It was a victim of a setup. What is the administration going to do now? And this is an undocumented immigrant. I do want to note that. But this was someone who came forward, was a victim of a crime, and now law enforcement believes he was set up. Go ahead.
Well, I want to clarify what you mean, so we're talking about the same thing. Are you saying this immigrant was here illegally?
Yes, but I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that.
You said undocumented, and I wasn't clear what that means. I'm assuming they have a fake ID. I'm assuming they have a fake social security number.
That's neither here nor there. That's getting away from the question, Stephen. I want this to be and call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right
but
now.
when we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
All right,
An
does
illegal
this
alien
risk...
is an illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's another discussion for another day.
I don't know the details of the assassination threat. All I can say, based on what you're telling me, is there's an illegal alien in our country who's making menacing threats, regardless of the facts or circumstances.
Anyway, I love that. Just love that. All right, coming up next, Mark Ruffalo says white people commit more crime than immigrants. And, you know, I'm just going to blow this out of the water. This whole whites commit a majority of the crime in the United States, those statistics are so false, and it's so tiring that they get repeated. You'll hear me blast that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, let's talk about who really commits more crime. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, I'm not happy that we have to spend time on the show to go over things that are kind of obvious, but maybe we do. I see things like the Mark Ruffalo video was going viral over the last, 48 hours or so. And I see so many people in the comment section just treat this like it's the gospel truth. And I find it very frustrating. And it's this myth that white people commit more crime. Let's go through it. Let's just start.
It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires. Well, we're seeing what's happening. First of all, we're understanding that the immigrants aren't the criminals. If you look at the statistics, most of the crimes that are committed in this country are by white people, that non-immigrants. And they add to our economy by the billions. And so for every horrible thing that you have to go through in life, you get an equal gift in return. And the gift of this time is that we get to see who the true villains are. We get to see who's really making our lives unbearable and who's making us so desperate. It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires. And it's time to take our country back from that extreme wealth that has its hands all over the power of the nation and become a beautiful, burgeoning democracy that works for the people, not just the very wealthy. America is us.
All right, so I see one of the studies that shows up a lot has some skewed numbers in the fact that whenever you see someone reporting on something, whenever you see someone make the claim that white people are committing more crime or white people commit most crime, I want you to do some adding up. Because if it is almost 100% when you look at the percentage of crime that black people commit and the percentage of crime that white people commit, if that's almost 100, then they're doing this clever little statistical lie where they're including Hispanics in with white people. Now, historically speaking, going all the way back, there is a very blurry line between Hispanic and white. You know, it's like I have seen numerous examples of people putting in the race wrong, like where it's clearly a Middle Eastern person or, you know, an Indian Muslim or even a black fellow and they're listed as white. That's one thing. But when you're taking people who are clearly Hispanic and as a category, categorically classifying all of them as white, well, then you just can't use that number. And so look at that first. But what is Mark Ruffalo really trying to do here? Mark Ruffalo is trying to get you to be more sympathetic to the people that ICE are deporting and less sympathetic to the people who support ICE deporting them. It really is that simple. The facts don't matter. The facts are going to be shoehorned to fit in the predetermined conclusion. But like, here's an example here. If you just type this in, like I'm looking at, what is this, from Google Search Assistant? Yeah, the AI answer. Like type in white people crime, and it'll say white Americans commit the majority of crimes in the United States, accounting for 67.4% of all arrests for violent crimes. Oh, wow, that's a lot. Man, that's crazy. Seeing as how we're less than that percentage of the population, you mean we're overrepresented in the crime statistics? Because since we're only about 60% of the population these days, not true. That statistic is only true if you count all the Hispanic crimes as white crimes. And then you'll find out that if you actually try and separate it out and if you can get somewhat close to actual numbers, well, then we're vastly underrepresented in the crime statistics, and we fall below half. We commit less than half, so we know we do not commit the majority of crimes in the United States. And if this was a racist country, would we allow the blatant lie and slandering, or libel if you're writing it down like the Google search assistant over here, would we allow that to go unfettered? Would Mark Ruffalo be able to go out there and say clear falsehoods that are racially biased against white people if this was a white supremacist country with no condemnation, with no negative consequences whatsoever. He's not going to get blacklisted. He's still going to be in the Marvel universe. He's still getting jobs. He is a good actor. I will say I like Mark Ruffalo as an actor. His politics are terrible. And I'm tired of people lying about it, about me, about you, about most of the people that are listening to WBAP right now. All we do go and we commit crimes at less than the rate of our Hispanic and black neighbors. Not only do we not get credit for it, we are demonized for it. And I'm just not going to sit back and live in that world just unquestioned. You're gonna demonize me. You're gonna convince people to not like me. You're gonna drive up antipathy towards me. No, screw you. I'll talk bad about it and keep telling the truth here. But look, this has negative consequences because the people that believe it go on and repeat it, and they base their worldview and their votes on it. Now, I don't know this lady's name, but I just pulled this out as like, wow, these people really buy into this. Now, you and I don't believe what Mark Ruffalo says. You and I don't believe what Joy Behar says on The View or Sonny Hostin or CNN for that matter. I just don't want you to forget that a lot of people do, and a lot of people just accept this as gospel truth, and the worldview that they walk away with is horrific.
Black people are being lynched all around the country right now.
Really?
They are being found hanging from trees in public spaces.
Yeah?
They're also going missing. They're also being murdered in lots of other ways as well. And I can assure you there is no debate here. No debate whatsoever. Black people do not hang themselves from trees in public. That is not a debate. That is not the world we live in. Don't even try.
How about I'll try? I think it'd be a pretty big story. We get national news if someone hangs what is perceived to be a noose in the garage door pull down on Bubba Wallace's latest NASCAR stop. It makes news for 4 months if someone does a perceived Nazi salute at a Stars game in the American Airlines Center. But we're just ignoring, we're just overlooking the mass lynchings of blacks in America today. That's not even believable. But she believes this. This is her world view. And how do you talk someone off that ledge? You know how hard it is to get people to admit that they're wrong? We're not asking her to update her economic policy. We're not asking her to change her worldview slightly. We're asking her to completely turn around 180 degrees and have to admit everything that she believed about race is exactly backwards from the real world. How do you pierce that bubble? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Speaking of updates on the race war, you're going to get updates on the Nolan Wells situation, the black kid that was found dead after hanging out with 3 white friends. Oh, super scary, right? Well, updates next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, they were talking about how statistics are being skewed to make a racial point. I'm James Parker on the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Mark Ruffalo went viral saying white people commit the majority of crimes anyway, and immigrants commit more crime than native people. It's like, oh, this is so exhausting, but it's such an easily disprovable myth that it's terrible it persists. And then I showed you how Mark Ruffalo says this, CNN repeats it, other people believe it, and I was playing you audio of people going off like, well, I'm so worried about white crime. Yeah, sure am worried about white people committing all that crime, because white people and crime go hand in hand, and it's not racist to say so. We're just noticing a pattern. Look out for white crime.
More fearful of large gatherings of young white men that come into schools, theaters, and shoot people up.
Our country should be more fearful of white men because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
White evangelical Christianity is a cancer. These are the worst people in our country.
Angry white male studies. Students will explore the deeper sources of white man anger and evaluate recent manifestations of it.
For every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men.
Let's talk about the white supremacists. I can guarantee you, I can track down more crimes that they've committed.
Yeah, sure. I bet you can. And then even when you try and break it down in smaller chunks, like what if you just did mass shootings? Like here's Roland Martin with a common myth.
I know your ass love guns, like I drink protein shakes. But what's real interesting to me here is every time there's a mass shooting, if I had to go to a betting market, I put my money on a white man.
Well, you can, but you're probably going to lose. Statistically speaking, you would lose that. Actually, we don't do the most mass shootings. In fact, just think about the news here in Texas this year. We had some mass shootings at the Stop 6 Park in Fort Worth. Who was that? Was that white rural rage, or were they white at all? Well, what about the shooting that happened in the other after hours party that was, I forgot the name of the club, but it was also in Fort Worth. There was the mass shooting up at the Sunday Fun Day in Oklahoma. Edmond, remember that one where like 15 people were shot? What color were those people? Roland Martin. What about the one that happened at the Airbnbs? Both of them here in West Dallas on Memorial Day weekend. What about the mass shooting that happened in Austin on 6th Street? Okay, yeah, remember the Afghan or the black fellow with the Iran shirt on and then the other Iran shirt on under it? So there's a lot of myths out here, and all of them are lies, and all of them are about me, and I'm just not going to sit back and take it. Stop lying about white people. Examine your own communities. Stop blaming other people. Number one, admit the truth. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's not a stain on the entirety of the black community. We all know it's just a tiny minority within a minority that's causing these problems. And as long as you're lying about it and you're going after me, you're not going to solve the problem. That's not what's good for any community. Tony in Oklahoma, you're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James, I got a friend on X up in Tulsa, Robert D. in Tulsa. And he's always looking at the bookings up there where they book these guys into the county jail or whatever. And there is an incredible number of Haitians, Mexicans. I don't know if they're south of the border where, but they're booking them in under white. And somebody posted last night some people over in Tennessee that were black put in under white people. I mean, that's skewing the FBI statistics pretty bad. I think that's a conspiracy.
Well, you can notice that they're cobbling in Hispanics with whites when the numbers get too big. Because when you see that like black people commit like 30% of the crime and white people commit 70% of the crime, you're like, okay, so Hispanics commit 0? Someone's getting lumped in there, right? The numbers are too big. And so once you see that, you can just discount that whole thing, and whoever's pushing that is either duped or dishonest. So you can try and point out to them that they're duped. If they're not opening to admitting that they're wrong, just cut off the conversation. They don't want to have an honest conversation. They don't care what the facts are. They've already made up their minds that white people are evil, and a lifetime of conditioning is not going to be undone with one afternoon session of you showing them the stats. Tony. But
Exactly. I always tag Cash Patel on it and tell him they're skewing his data. Because
wait, Tony, where are you at in Oklahoma? Where are you at in Oklahoma?
Guthrie.
Okay.
I'm in Guthrie, just north of Edmond. Oh, pretty close to where they had that little shooting over there.
Yeah, the Sunday Fun Day. That's exactly why I include it. I know y'all are in my area. Thank you very much, Tony. Yeah, I know I say Texans a lot, but I realize some Oklahoma people are listening. I lived in Oklahoma for a year. I should get credit for that. Kim and Burleson, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Kim.
Hey, man. Hey, I'm just riding along and I'm listening to you, and I tried to follow the instruction you gave, and so I asked the AI assistant pretty much the same thing you did, but I took non-Hispanic whites out, and it's still 48 to 52% of total crime is by whites. And now I would assume that makes perfect sense considering whites are the majority. So it's like,
okay. So what are the two numbers again?
I did just what you did. I asked Google Assistant what percentage of crime in America is committed by white non-Hispanics.
Yes.
It said 48 to 52%.
Wait, it's 48 or 52?
It says between 48 and 52,
okay.
And it's specifically stated because a lot of crime is not reported one way or the other. So the FBI statistics aren't exact. But I get confused, though, because we know about all these church bombings and grocery stores getting shot up. And then you mentioned, Pookie and the band shooting up a house party in Stop 6. That's not going to make national news when you got people bombing churches and shooting up churches and universities. So I'd love to hear your response. I'm going to hang up.
Well, no, don't hang up. I don't understand the difference here, because the stats don't matter on how much attention it gets in the national news. The stats are the stats. Okay, he's gone. No, I really don't. Look, the statistics are overwhelming in the fact that the crime that you described, that's not some crazy white guy going and bombing a church, happens far more often, even though it doesn't get nearly the attention. Like, we're getting follow-up on the ICE shooting that happened almost a week ago, I guess maybe almost a week ago in Houston. We don't get follow-ups on the Pookie shootings. I like that term, by the way. We don't get follow-ups on those. So in the public consciousness, you may feel like that's a much smaller deal. But for every black person that dies at the hands of a white person, there's like 30 of them that die at the hands of another black guy. Anyway, I'm out of time. I don't know. I'll think about that and see if I can understand what he was really asking, because I really want to address that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, we're just correcting the record. Correcting, I guess, Mark Ruffalo on race crime stats. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, and I've got a text from a friend of mine saying Mark Ruffalo's terrible. Well, look, he's an okay actor. He was a terrible Hulk. All right, well, I didn't see him in Marvel, but I've seen some of his other movies. And I don't buy into that just because someone I politically disagree with, they all of a sudden become a washed-up, terrible actor. He's a great actor. His politics are just ridiculously wrong. For those of you just joining us, I'll catch you up real quick. This went viral in the last 48 hours. Mark Ruffalo.
It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires. Well, we're seeing what's happening. First of all, we're understanding that the immigrants aren't the criminals. If you look at the statistics, most of the crimes that are committed in this country are by white people.
Wrong. So let me give you an example of the wrong statistics. There's a lot of people that repeat these. These will be repeated on CNN and M. Snow and ABC, NBC, CBS. But I had this pulled from a show we did last year right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Of course, he went hyper viral and a lot of his videos were making the rounds, and then people were debunking some of his videos. So here's one of the worst debunkings you've ever heard.
About 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are black.
Exactly.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders, they commit more arsons, they commit more kidnappings. For example, blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Okay, let's talk about it. These are obviously racist claims, but
hang on. How is that racist? If it's true and he's just reading statistics, how can that be racist? Can you not have an honest conversation without being called racist? How can he present these statistics without being accused of racism? Is there a way?
I will respond to them as if Charlie Kirk were a reasonable person.
Black
Okay, just start with an insult. Well done, sir. Well done.
Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are black.
Wrong. Just 38% of America's prison population is black. That's according to the U.S. government. But it makes you wonder why Charlie feels the need to add an additional 12% to the black prison population. Could it be because his bigoted talking points only work if he exaggerates them? If Charlie were actually looking for the race that makes up half the prison population in the U.S., he'd look no further than white people at 57%.
All right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So if you take the white prison population, 57%, and you add it to the prison population that this guy admits, the black prison population is 38%. What number are we at there? 38 plus 57. Y'all still with me? We're at 95%. You mean only 5% of the prison population is something other than white or black? Not believable. Not believable. No. So right there, you know he is conflating. He is putting together the Hispanic crime rate with the white crime rate, which disproves what he's all about to say next. Number one, they're not a majority of the prison. White people are not a majority of the prison population, which means white people don't commit a majority of the crime, which means white people commit crimes at a much lower rate than the black counterpart. So what Charlie Kirk just said there is true.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do.
Wrong. The word "so" is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
So blacks commit more crimes.
He's saying "so" as in therefore, as in one could conclude. But Charlie knows he's lying. Even if he hadn't just lied about the black prison population.
He didn't.
Charlie is smart enough to know that correlation does not equal causation, but he's hoping that you don't know that. So he deploys the word "so" to make you think he's coming to an obvious conclusion.
So blacks.
Instead, he's making an illogical racist leap. Charlie knows.
All right, so the truth there is what he was saying was true, has nothing to do with race, and this is your only comeback, is to give some improper stats that clearly leave out every other race but whites and blacks, and then accuse Charlie of racism. Ad hominem attacks there. Oh, he's confusing correlation and causation. No, he's not. No, he's not. I think there's a pretty clear, not just correlation, there is a causation there to believe if black people were making up a similar percentage of the prison population, they committed a similar amount of crime. Like, these proportions are not anything crazy to the statistical world.
That we don't have usable data about who commits crimes. It's impossible to have that data since so many crimes go both unreported and or unsolved.
Oh yeah, so we don't have enough information. I have enough information to know Charlie Kirk's wrong. So how does that work? How can you definitively say Charlie Kirk's wrong if you're saying we don't have enough information to know either way? You can't have it both ways, sir. You can either debunk him with some real numbers, or you can say we don't have legitimate numbers. But to just do both, okay.
He knows that we only have data about arrests and convictions. I'll come back to that data in a moment. What's painfully obvious is that Charlie Kirk isn't interested in understanding the statistics he so carelessly misquotes. He's interested in making bad faith arguments.
Who's carelessly misquoting statistics now?
That becomes even more obvious in his next point.
Blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Wrong again. And
how?
Loud this time. If Charlie were interested in honesty, he would have mentioned the other 1350 statistic. Yes, black people are about 13% of the population, but make up 53% of all criminal exonerations. In fact, black people make up 55% of all murder exonerations specifically. Black people.
All right, so let's stop right there. Black people commit 55% of the murders is the claim Charlie Kirk's making. This guy's saying that can't be true because black people also make up 55% of murder exonerations. However, if we lived in a just colorblind world, wouldn't your level of exonerations match the level of your criminality? And so isn't the 55% of exonerations proving how colorblind our criminal justice system is? It's not more or less than the rate by which you commit the crime. Man, I mean, the guy's debunking himself and not even realizing it. The guy is presenting statistics that throw this whole racism argument into the ditch while claiming Charlie's misquoting, being dishonest, and it really is that bad, y'all. And so now there are people walking away with this idea that you got to be scared of white people. You got to be scared of white rural rage. White people are evil. White people are violent. And to solve all the pain and violence and suffering of the black community, we really have to change something in the white community. When the exact opposite's true. 800-288-9227. You'll hear some of your neighbors calling in on this next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Yeah, they're really trying to stoke up a race war or something before the midterms. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And make no mistake, there's no hate in the debunking of these crime statistics. I'm not telling you that whites committed crime at a lesser rate than these other people are putting out there because I'm trying to drive up antipathy toward minorities. I'm trying to show you that we don't hate you. We're not doing this out of racial hatred for people. We're not lying about someone based on the color of their skin. In fact, we're being lied about based on the color of our skin. And I don't know how many times I have to repeat this, but I should probably do it more. I am not racist. Anybody who believes in racism believes in a failed ideology. Like you could really determine someone's characteristics based on an immutable trait such as skin tone. A little ridiculous, but fine. I'm aware some people think that way. I'm just going to speak out against it. And just for anyone who tells you that they don't like what I said because it was racist, they are admitting that they, number one, missed the point of what I said, so they don't understand my position, or number two, they're absolutely lying about me because they don't have a good comeback. Ken in Arlington, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
This is all going to be turned into a race issue. I mean, the Mexicans are going to say, the old saying is, you don't know what it's like be walking white black or driving white black. Well, that's true. I'm white. The cops roll up on me. My vehicle goes in park. My hands go on the steering wheel. I'm not running. When they ask for a driver's license, I'm giving them my driver's license and my CHL because I carry.
Yeah, I always reject the idea that look, what you should do, Ken, is immediately reject the idea that your opinion is worth less than someone else's based on the color of your skin. When someone says that, they are making a racist assertion. Now, that doesn't mean they're a racist person, but that fits in with the definition of racism. You think people have immutable traits that you can determine based solely on the color of the skin that render them better or worse than other races. Well, when you say, well, you can't understand it because you don't drive while you're white. Oh, so my opinion means less because of the color of my skin. That's a racist statement. You should reject that, fix that before you even continue with the conversation, Ken. But there's not going to be a race war. Look, the Hispanics are 50-50 on Team Red versus Team Blue now, so you can put that to bed. And judging by the I don't want to say the majority of what I saw, but it's getting a bigger percentage of what I saw from the black community in response to Carmelo Anthony. I have a feeling this is kind of starting to dwindle out, and maybe George Floyd and those riots were one of the last convulsions that we'll see. I don't think a race war is possible. I think with social media and the connectivity that we all have with new technology, that they can't just continually lie about the antipathy white people are pretending to hide behind closed doors much longer.
Well, but what's going to start happening now, and this is true, that the conservative Hispanic population are not the ones that are running from ICE. They're not the ones that are yelling race issues. The ones that are on Team Blue that support the illegal aliens or are going to be the first one to throw out the race card, they're the ones that are going to cause all the problems.
Well, no one loves calling me a racist more than liberal white people, too. That's kind of the biggest thorn in my side, Ken. And for all the people that try and get me fired by talking to my boss or sending emails to the board of directors or CEO or whoever you know up the management chain, almost always a white person. With that, let's go to Robert in Dallas. Hey, Robert, you're next up on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hi, James. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
If I remember right, when Obama was president, the first 2 years of his term, the Democrats had a supermajority in Congress. Is that correct?
Yes.
So back then, if they wanted to do something about the immigration laws, they could have done almost anything they wanted to, but they didn't. And so...
Well, you know why that is? Because what they want is politically unpalatable to the majority of Americans. So they didn't actually have to vote in their immigration policy because their immigration policy is to not enforce our immigration laws. All they had to do was seize the executive branch and then not enforce our immigration laws. They didn't. It's almost like a pocket veto where, well, we want to repeal these laws, But since we can't actually get it through Congress without getting flogged by the voters, we'll just not enforce these laws. And that is not the rule of law at all. That is what the Constitution warns against. That's the rule of man. So, yeah, great point, Robert.
Right. And second, the reason why Islam is running over cities like Plano is because the church is falling down on the job as far as evangelism, as far as explaining their faith.
What? No. The church has nothing to do with 300,000 people from South India or from South Asia coming here in the last 20 years. The church could probably do a better job, but if you're bringing in hundreds of thousands, that's a problem with our immigration system. That's a problem with H-1Bs. That's a problem with our border. But I have a hard time blaming the church for that.
Right, but if they're not out evangelizing these people, because the Lord is bringing them here, whether we like it or not, and we need to do something about it.
But you think you can convert a woman in a hijab?
Sorry?
I'm just kind of out of time. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I'm not trying to be like defensive of the church. Of course, they could do more and we could do better, but if there is such thing as bringing in people at too big of a clip for the church to absorb and help assimilate. That's for sure. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Updates on the just flaccid attempt at a race war with the Nolan Wells situation. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we have an update on the Nolan Wells situation that they're desperately trying to turn into a race war. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, buddy, thanks for hanging out today. The racial cannons have been brought out for this case. We don't know anything about it. Hell, it might very well be racially motivated. The three white friends of the black kid that went missing, well, 19 years old, adult, but Nolan Wells, hey, maybe this was racial antipathy, but we don't know. We don't have all the evidence. We don't have the autopsy report back, but somehow the family's already gone and got Benjamin Crump, the lawyer for the NAACP that spearheads all the hits that you've seen from Trayvon Martin to George Floyd. They've also got Al Sharpton speaking on it and raising a stink. They've now had rallies and marches and protests in Mississippi around this. So they're really trying to make some hay of it. Jason Whitlock tells you about the next development. Of course, there's a GoFundMe here. So they're raising money for this guy, hundreds of thousands of dollars, just like they did for Carmelo Anthony. When there's not one piece of evidence that there was any foul play, we don't even know. But the assumption that it's racism, the worldview that it's anti-black racism perpetrated by bloodthirsty, rabid, foaming at the mouth white people is enough for people to just throw over their money.
They have launched a GoFundMe in loving memory of Nolan Xavier Wells. They're up to about $650,000 on this GoFundMe. There's a report that Byron Allen, black billionaire, media mogul, has donated $100,000. The pretense of the argument would be, well, I've got to have money to buy the kind of justice that I want for my child. I guess the argument would be that Mississippi is so racist that if I don't have money to spread around, I can't get Mississippi, law enforcement in Mississippi, to pursue the truth. But there's also the other argument that some people could make is if I don't have money, I can't manipulate the truth. I can't produce the truth that I want. And so let me start a GoFundMe. Maybe I'll use some of it to improve my life. Maybe I'll use some of it to make sure I get an autopsy report that backs up my contention, or an autopsy report that tells the truth, a toxicology report that tells the truth or supports my narrative. But this seems like the way that we're headed, and I'm pointing to Carmelo Anthony as like he laid the blueprint, but maybe I should point even further back that this has been the point of the entire Black Lives Matter movement from the get-go.
See, Jason Whitlock, he sees right through it. A lot of people are seeing through it. I am more optimistic than I ever have been about race relations in the United States. Let's go to Joe in Grapevine. You're next up on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
James, honor and privilege as always.
Oh, it's that Joe in Grapevine. Hey, bud.
Hey, buddy. James, you know, as long as I can remember, at least for the last decade and a half, even on Rush Limbaugh, it has been well documented that blue cities or blue states are under or not reporting if they're illegal first, or what their ethnic background is too. And as you've even said so many times, well, we probably have a good idea because they didn't mention whites at first, as Ann Coulter used to always state. But James, this has been going on for some time, even in Dallas-Fort Worth. And it was on your show. You were questioning, I think it was Grand Prairie, if someone was illegal or not. We really didn't know. Well, come to find out, someone else investigated it, looked into it, and just in the Dallas, Grand Prairie area, there was at least a dozen within a short period of time that were illegal. This was about maybe 8 months to a year ago. But look in Chicago, James, and this is something that Sean Hannity, something that Rush Limbaugh used to do. Every weekend, especially during the holidays, there were always shootings in Chicago. But what did they not always say? Was it a bunch of whites against the blacks or Hispanics? Hispanics against whites or Hispanics against blacks? No, they never mentioned. And that goes true to this day. And it doesn't mean, and I'll finish with this, just because a lot of those blacks doesn't mean that lost their lives or maybe even defended themselves that they were in the wrong. Maybe they were defending themselves, and maybe, which we don't endorse, we're trying to get some justice because they didn't feel like the system was getting it for it because it was black on black crime. But they don't want to mention that, do they, James?
Well, look, civil rights attorney Ben Crump just did a press conference today, and he is signing on to represent the family of this 18-year-old who drowned in Lake Ray Hubbard back in April. Now, he was with a couple of friends, too. I don't know the intricacies of this story, but now I'm interested in it because we've just discovered a reason to bring in Ben Crump 3 months after it happened. I'm super suspicious about this, but it looks like you're dumb not to do it. Like if you're a black family and you have a kid who dies under mysterious circumstances anywhere in proximity to white people, put up a GoFundMe account and just see if you can raise a few $100,000,000 or a few $100,000. Because that seems to be a pretty successful model thus far. And I wish I had more information on this other story, Joe, but I didn't watch the press conference. It's like a half hour long. I plan on doing that either tonight or tomorrow morning, and maybe I'll have something to add to this ongoing saga tomorrow. But yeah, there's another one. There's another one. So I might be adding to this on the Wednesday edition of the James Show. 800-288-9227. Still coming up, the latest word salad from Kamala Harris about the WNBA. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, let's hear the latest Kamala Harris word salad. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I know part of you, it's not a majority, it's a small part of you, maybe 4 or 5%, actually misses Kamala Harris being in the public sphere so much because we got so damn much good audio out of it. I mean, wasn't that great? That whole that presidential election cycle, because they didn't trot her out in front of the media much when she was a senator, and they didn't trot her out a whole lot when she was vice president. But when they were making her run for president, boy, it was just coming every day. We got some good ones. Now, we're going to mix the greatness of Kamala Harris word salad, and we're going to put it in the context of something else you absolutely love, the WNBA. Two clips here. There's one where she's on the sideline at the scorer's table talking to one of the broadcasters and talking about how much she just loves the WNBA. Oh my goodness, it is the best thing in the world. She watches it all the time, y'all.
I know you're a huge basketball fan. How do women do it better?
Oh, that's a big
Can we just stop? Can we just... None of these girls are good enough to make in the NBA. You can say pretty much anything else about the WNBA and people will applaud it. I'll applaud it. But how are they better? I don't know. Better looking, maybe.
I know you're a huge basketball fan. How do women do it better?
Oh, that's a big question about so many things. But what these women are doing is they're also, especially in the last few years, they have been undeterred around what other people may have in terms of limited expectations of the sport. And they are not listening. They are not paying attention. They know their excellence. They know their popularity. I mean, look at these crowds. And they are leading. And it is so exciting to see how they are, again, helping people understand that sometimes it's important to not be limited and not allow your ambition to be limited by other people's limited ability to see your capacity, right?
You have been a pioneer. These women have continued to push.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Here's the even better one. This isn't official footage from the broadcast. This is someone's cell phone footage. Kamala Harris was brought in, and this is sold to you as a hype speech at halftime. But this sounds like something you would say after the game is over. This better not be a half. I hope this was mislabeled. But if this is a halftime speech, this is not hype me up.
And you are having an incredible impact. I travel our country. Young girls, boys, people of every gender, background, race, watch the W.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
And understand how inspiring it is. So keep doing what you're doing. You guys are impacting people who you may never meet, people who may never know your names or mine, but they are aware of what you are doing. And it is giving them a sense of their value and their dignity and what they have a right to expect from this world. So congratulations on this game, but congratulations as much as anything else for the path you guys are charting. It is extraordinary to watch. That's it.
Boy, they really think highly of themselves here. This is Al in Dallas. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Oh, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Al.
Okay, this is my thing. I listen to you all the time. We agree about 90% of the time.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
You have children, don't you, Mr. James?
Yes, I have 4 children.
Put yourself in the position of those parents.
Okay.
Who was killed. Wouldn't you be concerned, regardless of the race of the people involved, that if your son or daughter, God forbid, went out with some friends and they wound up dead?
What? Okay, but these things aren't connected. Of course I would be concerned, but I wouldn't call a race huckster. I wouldn't call the white equivalent of Al Sharpton. I wouldn't call, who is that even? David Duke or Jake Lang or Nick Fuentes? I wouldn't call a race hustler ever to go address the media, no.
Okay, well, the thing about it is you may not like Mr. Crump, but you have the right to retain him because...
no one says he doesn't have the right to retain him. Please don't do straw man on me.
Okay. All I'm saying is that, we still have some unanswered questions. All right?
Agreed. No one says we don't have unanswered questions. We all agree we have unanswered questions. The problem is these people have brought in the racial angle with Benjamin Crump, and there's absolutely no evidence to suggest that anything racial is part of the story. So what this does do is betray what is in the heads of the parents. The parents think that there's something racist. The parents see race as the essential defining characteristic of these boys. These parents are racist. If this is what you do in reaction to your kid dying, or your kid, like in Carmelo Anthony's case, murdering someone else, is you go call a race hustler, I think there's a pretty good chance you're pretty ate up with racism to begin with.
Well, we just don't agree there. I mean, the bottom line is this. I'm open-minded. I'll wait to see where the facts lead. Okay, I don't believe in overreacting. I believe in letting things play out to see what happens. But if they want to bring Crump or whoever there, that's their right to do so. I don't believe it's been made racial. But, we just don't agree on that.
How can this name a case that Benjamin Crump has been a part of that wasn't racial?
Name a case that wasn't racial?
Yeah, they all have. Every case that Benjamin Crump has made in the public sphere is race-based. So don't pretend like, I don't see anything racial about it. If they want to go get an attorney, that's the right. No one says they don't have. Listen, don't do the straw man thing. I want you to actually hear me and digest this, because it sounds like you're just trying to deflect this because this doesn't fit your existing worldview. But if someone goes out and they go get a Ben Crump, or they get an Al Sharpton, or they get someone racial, they're the ones that are inserting race into this. And if there's zero evidence of anything racist about the story, and they go get one of these guys before there's any evidence, I think that's a damning evidence that the parents there are racist.
Well, we just don't agree on that, sir. I mean, they have the right to get who they want. This is a serious situation, but
this isn't an agree to disagree. It's not like we're saying Project Hail Mary is a good movie. Well, I disagree. I think it's a bad movie. That's subjective. This is objective. They are being racist. They are seeing a racial angle in the absence of evidence. Their first instinct is race. And so I think that betrays the racism in their own hearts.
Okay. You're a big supporter of the current president, right? Donald Trump? Everything he does isn't racist. Okay.
I've never,
but,
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The thing about it is this: people have the right to have their differing opinions on this. Okay, we've made progress with race relations in this country. We still have some work to do, but we've made progress. But in this case, whoever the parents of that young man who's dead at a far too young age want to enlist to do this, they have the right to do that. I mean, you don't have to agree with it.
Al, is anybody saying they don't have the right? Who are you talking to right now? Who is saying they don't have the right to do it?
Ben Crump. That's what you said, remember?
Yeah, they have the right to go get Ben Crump. And I have the right to point out the fact that they are taking a racial angle on this, and that's indisputable.
Okay, what racial angle did they take, Mr. James?
They went out and got the lawyer for the NAACP.
Okay.
What does the NAACP fight? Is that a organization that's known for fighting racism?
They have been, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so these are all just common sense.
Different ethnicities that made it up NAACP.
These are all just common sense, the conclusions that any normal person would make. You are inserting race into the situation when you bring in the lawyer of the NAACP, right?
I don't agree with that, sir.
Why else would you call the NAACP? Because you had a plumbing leak?
Well, the NAACP was founded with a myriad of ethnicities. It wasn't just black people.
No one said it was. Again, with the straw man. Stop with that.
Well, you have the right to your take on this, sir. But again,
are you under the impression the NAACP isn't a civil rights organization?
I didn't say that.
All right. Nothing's going to get through there, is it? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Between the ICE shootings and the coverage of that, the selective outrage on some different crimes, you got Ben Crump being brought in on the Nolan Wells case in Mississippi. Now Benjamin Crump just did a press conference in Dallas today about a kid that was missing from, what was that, Lake Ray Hubbard. And so it is race riot season, y'all. We got some midterms coming up in just a few months, and they'd like to get their voting base energized, and nothing like a good round of riots to do it, I guess. I don't know. It's just sad because the accusation of racism on the part of white America is so exhausting because from my point of view, especially as a talk radio host, I'm constantly saying, I am not racist. I do not hate people based on the color of their skin. And then people call in, they're like, why are you so racist? And it's the most frustrating thing ever. And it's frustrating when you put it next to trans people. How can this person identify as something they're not, but I can't identify as something I am? Right? You'll call Caitlyn Jenner, she, her, just out of respect because that's what they identify as and that's what they believe, and you're going to respect that. But me, I can't shake it. Even when I say I don't believe in racism, and I think racism even against white people is bad, they're like, man, why are you racist? And I don't know. I don't feel like I'm getting through to people on this. Brian in Frisco, you're next up on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole racism thing on that. I mean, was the kid out there with some white friends? And if that's the case, I get that. But if he was with his black friends, would this guy been called in to be his lawyer?
Absolutely not. And we know that's the case because how many shootings have we had? How many black people have died here in North Texas? And Benjamin Crump never gets called. Al Sharpton never gets called. The only time we had a race baiter called is when Carmelo Anthony killed Austin Metcalf. Then we had to call a race baiter. Then we had to call a hustler to come in here and make this all about race. But the streets could be flowing with blood of our black neighbors, and these people wouldn't care. And I think that's sick. And I think you don't really care about black people if you really only get incensed if it makes white people look bad. I don't think that's what's good for your community or black people in general.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And then moving on to what Kamala had to say about the WNBA, she missed a golden opportunity to resurrect her famous line about these women are unburdened by what has been.
I like that. No, look, a lot of people were pushing back on that, saying, hey, remember when Kash Patel went to the locker room of the U.S. men's hockey team after they won the gold, and he got slammed in the media for that? Like, yeah, it's time to do that. There's so many important things he could be doing. It's one of the least important things. He's just doing it for clout. I mean, is he drunk? So, yeah, just the bias is so hyped up there. You can't even get an even covering on half times. This is Ed in Mansfield. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
I'm just surfing through the channels. I couldn't come across your station, and I was curious. Have you ever? Do you feel that you've ever been wrong about anything?
Oh my God, yes.
Give me one. Give me one good thing.
So I used to think that we need sensible gun control. Like I was okay with background checks and registering and serial numbers and databases and closing the gun show loophole. I was wrong about that. At the very beginning of my radio career too, I was also wrong about environmentalism. I believed in global warming, not so much so like an Al Gore or whatnot, but I did believe that man-made contributions to the climate were causing bad events and we needed to get a hold of it. I don't believe that anymore. So absolutely, I've been wrong about things.
So then what do you believe about gun control and the environment now, after you change your mind?
Oh, what are we just doing a survey here? So on gun control, we shouldn't have a database. We shouldn't have gun registrations. We shouldn't have background checks on purchases. I believe that all of that is an infringement of your gun rights. I also recognize that in the different places that try different gun control regimes, you're not getting the effect that is promised by gun control laws. So I've actually come down and instead of being okay with the gun control situation as it is, I think we should repeal what few gun laws we have. On the environment, we're fine. Global warming is not a big deal. Every prediction that's been made about global warming in my entire life has been wrong, except for the parts per million of CO2. And that actually doesn't help their case because they told us if it ever got above 400, that would be the point of no return. And it would be ridiculous to even try then. And so here we are above 400 and they're still trying. But we still have the glaciers in Glacier National Park in Montana. Inconvenient Truth said they would all be gone by 2020. It also said we wouldn't have snows on Mount Kilimanjaro. It also said we wouldn't have polar ice caps in the summer by 2013 or something ridiculous like that. So all of those predictions have fallen on their face, and so I don't believe any of that anymore.
I'm not as well versed as you are about the environment or gun control for that matter, but with regard to the environment, I'm not sure if any of what you said is accurate or not. But
that's all right.
What I'm more interested in is if how you come across to change your mind about anything. When you grew up, did you? I mean, obviously you had a mother and father. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I don't know what you're getting at here. Yeah, I had a sister, but what's the point of this?
I'm getting there real quick. Okay, I'm getting there real quick. You had brothers and sisters. You had a family. Clearly, you didn't agree on everything. You had a disagreement about one thing or another. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay, over 300 million Americans. We're not all going to agree on anything. Why does it have to be your way?
Well, it has to be my way when if someone's going out there and they're saying the sky is green and grass is blue.
Nobody's saying that though. Don't make ridiculous.
Of course they are. Of course.
I'm speaking realistically.
Calm down.
Does everybody have to agree with your point of view because you're making ridiculous analogies.
Well, because on some of these things there is a right and a wrong. Now on subjective things, on opinion things, there's not. But the fact that black people commit crime at a greater rate than white people.
Wrong? Is that it?
Well, no, statistics. There are things that are provable.
That's right. Let's go on facts. I love that.
Good. Yeah, so white people do not commit a majority of violent crime in America. And the people that say that, I have no problem correcting them because they are wrong and I am right, and that is provable.
Okay, I like that. I love facts. Republicans historically, and I'm talking historically, this is not my opinion, these are facts, have increased the debt again and again without fail.
Yeah.
Why do you support that?
I don't.
Then why do you support Trump?
Who says I do? This is your first show, isn't it, Ed? Is this your first show?
Trump?
No.
Do you support Trump?
No, I'm a libertarian. I vote libertarian.
Well, then I would never have known that because you seem to agree with everything that Trump says.
No, see, you came to that conclusion so you wouldn't actually have to address the facts that counter your worldview. And this cognitive dissonance is easier in your head if you can look.
I want you to answer that. Tell me.
Which part?
What's your question? Anything. Ask me a question.
Ask you a question.
It contradicts what I just said.
I don't care about your opinions. You called me. I didn't call Ed in Mansfield.
No, you're right about that, but I care about your audience because you are influencing them and giving garbage.
What did I say that's not true?
You're okay. What was that thing on the radio? Okay, well, just that you are correct about your opinion is right. No, not necessarily everybody agrees with your opinion. You know, you may like this or that, and that's fine. But not everybody has to go along with what you say. For example, it's just like going to a grocery store.
Hang on, let's come back. What did I say that's not true?
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing, bro. Keep listening to the show. I'm not who you think I am. You have a caricature in your head that's already built of me, and it's okay. That's fine. Okay, I know there's a lot of other people in the talk.
Let me ask you a question.
All right, you got like 30 seconds.
The black analogy about how Ben Crump is there and if it weren't for a black person or if it weren't a black victim, he wouldn't have been there. Well, you know, what about the converse? What if it were a white person that would be a victim? What business does he have there? It's of no.
Right, because he's a race hustler. And you're making my point. He's never had a white client in the public sphere like he's done all these other racially charged. Ed, I'm not who you think I am. I understand why you think that way because a lot of people in the talk radio space have ticked you off before.
And you're a racist.
Well, if that's all you got, I think I pretty much won there.
No,
he did the secret word. See, you can't say anything I've said that's incorrect, so you are forced by your cognitive dissonance to try and discredit me. So first you try to accuse me of being a blind, sheepish Republican Trumper, wrong. And now you're trying to accuse me of bigotry and racism, wrong. Maybe you should reevaluate your worldview. Maybe I am right on some of these things. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners. James Parker here for Rhino Shield. When it's time to repaint your house, why don't you go ahead and upgrade your house? You know, if you had Rhino Shield, you wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. How about you get Rhino Shield and you're never put in this situation again? Look, I don't really understand how this science works, but they will come out and they will show you. They will show you because it's a two-part process for Rhino Shield. They seal up your house, they do a primer, and then there's a coating of nanoparticles. It's kind of like the same technology they use on the space shuttle heat shield. But when they put it on there, you see that it expands with the house. It contracts when the house gets cold. It makes a great seal. It blocks UV rays. It helps save you on energy costs by giving you a little bit of an insulation factor, a 6.9 R factor. Really, I don't even know what that is, but it's an insulation measurement of some sort. But here's the good news. You're going to come back in 10, 20, 30 years, and it's still going to look beautiful. No cracking, no flaking, no peeling. And if you're worried about the cost, that's no problem. We'll put it on a low monthly payment for you. So when it's time to fix up your house, go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Yeah, we're your home for all things Jim Crow and traffic on the ones. It's the James Show. I'm kidding. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I love that. That's the last gasp of a drowning debate right there. You're a racist. We only have a few minutes here. Let me try and squeeze in another call. Jared in Dallas. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sound great. Jared, what's up?
Doing okay, man. I was listening to your radio station, and I couldn't help but feel that you are wrong on so many levels.
Okay.
Racist, misogynistic, race baiting. What was the last comment that you had with your previous caller?
Hey, you said the magic word.
So your previous caller had mentioned something about you being wrong. I'd have to agree with your previous caller. Let's see, you had mentioned something about white people not being responsible for the most crime in America. You know that's wrong, right? Like the federal
what's the
Bureau
number?
of Investigations has statistics on that.
Yeah, what's the number?
Let's maybe move right along.
No. Okay.
You can look that up, right? The Federal Bureau of Investigations has statistics on crime. White people predominantly responsible for both violent and nonviolent, predominantly percentage-wise.
Definitely not violent, bro.
Okay, well, anyway.
What about murder? What about murder?
All right, well, so the next
No.
question...
No. What about murder? What about murder?
So
what about murder?
How about this question?
What about murder?
Do I need to look up the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
No, you don't have to. Blacks are 13%. Listen. I'll educate you here, Jared. I'm running out of time. Black people are 13% of the population. They commit 55% of the murder. Agree or disagree?
So you're talking a ratio, but not as a whole, right?
Black people are 13% of the population. They commit 55% of the murders.
We understand the basics of your math, but your attempt to deny...
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes, clearly that is the reality.
That is true. So black people commit more violent crime than all other races combined, or murder than all other races combined.
Not in a mathematical sense.
How does 55% not outpace all the other races combined?
Because you're talking of a ratio, not as a whole. The actual number. So per state, per white versus black, there are more violent crimes committed numbers as a whole by white people.
Still not true. That's none of that's true.
Anyway, well, so this.
I'm out of time. None of that's true. Jared, nobody can hear you. I turned you down. Do me a favor. Go look that up. Please go look that up. And if you can find the study, send it to me. I'll issue a correction tomorrow. I'm James Parker. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.